Our scripture reading this morning comes from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 10. They came to Jericho. As he, Jesus, and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up. Jesus is calling you." So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said to him, "My teacher, let me see again." Jesus said to him, Go, your faith has made you well." Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. May these words be to us our light and our life. Thanks be to God. I am fortunate to get some of the best greetings when I arrive home from work at the end of the day. Earlier this week, Issa heard me at the door, and she ran up, yelling, "Daddy's home!" and jumped into my arms, wrapping her arms and legs completely around me and holding me as tight as she possibly could. It was this wholehearted, full-bodied, joy-filled greeting. The best. I didn't even have a chance to put my bag down or take off my coat or do anything. Now, Satya probably would want to greet us the same way, although I think she's now more aware that there are some limits to 40-year-old bodies. Greetings from kids are great. But Sophie, our 12-year-old black lab, is perhaps the most consistent good greeter at our house. When I walk in the door, she's always there, running up with a spring in her step, her ears back, her tail wagging. Again, wholehearted, fully embodied, joyful greeting. It doesn't matter if I've been gone all the way or just 5 minutes to the garage, she still is there greeting me the same, either way. I'm grateful for these regular reminders of what joy looks like. We're often, as adults, socialized out of that full-bodied, wholehearted joy. Well, except maybe if you're cheering for your favorite team or an amazing performance. My friend, college friend Brad, is a long-suffering Cubs fan, and I so wish I could have been with him when the Cubs won that wild card game and got into the playoffs. Not to watch the game, but to watch Brad in his joy. Everyone in my house knows that if they hear my loud clapping, that there's probably a game going on somewhere. But most of the time we keep our joy contained, not wanting to look too foolish. I'm reminded of a story that goes like this. There was a wise and faithful woman who radiated with divine love. And one day, as this wise woman came upon a monk, this monk had spent a whole year enduring painful body modifications and mental disciplines in the hopes of getting closer to God. He'd achieved a certain amount of clarity and easily recognized God's love radiating from the woman. He unwound himself and said, "Oh, great souled one, pray, tell me, how much longer will it take me to get as close to God as you are?" The wise woman said, "You're doing well. At your present rate of progress, it will take you another year of similar effort to achieve what you hope." Another year? This sent the monk into despair. Another year? I don't know if I can bear another year of this horror, this boredom, this agony. I don't believe you. Get away from me. Later, the wise woman came across another man, thoroughly enjoying himself in a river. He cried out, "God is so good. Look at this river. It is so beautiful. Thank you for this river, oh God. Oh, how I love you, God." The man saw her and said, "Oh, good. God has sent me a great souled one. I was enjoying myself in this river so much, I almost forgot my goal to get closer to God. I was wondering, how long do you think it'll take me to get close as you to God?" The wise woman said, "You are doing well. At the rate you are progressing, it will take you 70 years of similar effort to achieve what you hope." The man cried out in perfect joy, "70 years of this? How wonderful! What a great thing you have told me this day." We can be so stoic and serious, diligent and even long-suffering in our faith. We tend to keep it contained within us. But Bartimaeus gives us a different role model in his reaction to Jesus. How many times had Bartimaeus called out for help along that road and been ignored by people passing by? No doubt we've all heard the resignation, the despair, and yet the persistence in a panhandler's voice as they ask for help over and over all day long. When Bartimaeus had heard Jesus was coming by and calls out to him by name, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The people around tried to quiet Bartimaeus, but he persists in calling, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And Jesus pauses and says, "Call him here." "Take heart," someone says to Bartimaeus. "Jesus is calling you." I must admit, in my own growing up in the church, I never really felt that close to Jesus. I learned about him in Sunday school and youth group, but never felt personally connected to Jesus. That might be one of the reasons why I left the church and Christianity in college. It wasn't really until a wilderness period in my 20s, after the death of my mother and great confusion about what to do with my life, that I did return to church again. And even then, it wasn't really about Jesus, it was about community. I needed a place to belong, to make friends, to find connection and meaning for my life. It wasn't until I was asked to read some of the last words of Jesus on Good Friday that I finally, for the first time, came face to face with Jesus. And there are other ways I've encountered Jesus since then, but in that moment it wasn't a parable truth or a love your enemies challenge or a turn over the tables confrontation. It was simply a feeling, a connection. I heard in the despair, in the voice of Jesus, something that resonated deeply with my own struggle. And it was a turning point for me in my faith and in my life. When Jesus called to Bartimaeus, it was a turning point as well. And his response? Bartimaeus throws off his coat, probably the only one that he ever owned, and springs to his feet and comes to Jesus. I think we have to see this in order to really understand it. Son of David, have mercy on me. Don't worry, it needs dry cleaning anyway. Wholehearted, fully embodied, joy-filled response. However, it's not the return of his sight that gives Bartimaeus joy, but rather being seen by Jesus. Being seen by Jesus, his voice heard, his pain acknowledged, and the possibility of new life. The faith that Jesus affirms in him is both the willingness to throw off the limits of his old self and jump at that chance for new life. This scene with Bartimaeus is pivotal in the Gospel of Mark. It's the last scene before Jesus enters Jerusalem on his way to confront the temple authorities, ultimately leading to the cross. Bartimaeus is the exclamation point in a long series of stories about what discipleship is and isn't, and models a willingness, a passion that can be found in our journey of faith. Now, we may never be like the Pentecostals, who are often more embodied and enthusiastic in their worship. We might never have a moment when we throw off our only coat for Jesus. But Bartimaeus models for us a faith that radiates to those around him. A wholehearted, fully embodied, joy-filled, tail-wagging faith that leaves no doubt that he has been changed by this moment, this encounter with Jesus, this moment of mercy. How might we connect with the joy of our faith? How might we help others see that joy and not keep it safely contained? How might we show that we've been changed by our encounters with Jesus and invite others to be changed as well? How might we encourage the forgotten, the brokenhearted, and the downtrodden, being the ones to say to them, "Take heart." Amen.